Hey, hey.
Hey there.
Time for some more Freedom Speak with Rebecca and Natalie. I am Rebecca.
I'm Natalie. We're your Liberty ladies, and we unite.
So, lots of interesting things going on today in Albuquerque.
Oh yeah, well, all over, but Albuquerque especially. Yeah. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe I should stay up in the mountain.
We've been making a few enemies, don't you think, Natalie?
I tend to think that Eddie's bid for GOP chairman has a lot to do with this.
Maybe. So for those of you that don't know, yesterday, probably Saturday night or early Sunday morning, maybe, somebody decided they didn't want Rock of Talk to be on the air.
It was Sunday morning at 4 a.m. There's actually security video footage that Eddie has. Two guys in a Ford truck drove up the crest to the whole crest radio array system up there.
Right, it's a whole fenced-in area.
And they knew the code to get into the gate.
See, now I was thinking about that maybe it was an inside job, and that's making it seem that way.
They knew the code. They got into the gate, no problem. They didn't have to, break anything to get in. They did have to break a lock to get into the smallest. So the smallest, I don't know what you call it, module or station up at the crest that has a bunch of the low frequency or low distance repeaters or transponders. I think it's transponders. So they broke a lock, and they brought the exact tool they needed to break the lock, which I think I remember him saying was a drill. So they knew what they needed to break the lock. And then they proceeded to steal some of the equipment in there. There was one other radio station that was affected. It's a Catholic radio station. But they basically stole a bunch of batteries and then smashed up KIVA's transponder.
Wow.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, the batteries that they stole aren't really that valuable.
Yeah.
Not like they're
gonna. Were they battery backup type for like keeping the station up in case the electricity goes out, or what?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they stole some equipment and smashed up the transponder, and then earlier, well, I think it was. Let's see, Eddie texted me at like 5 a.m. this morning, but I think he found out around 3 or 4 a.m. that his server went down. So I don't find it a coincidence that someone very specifically targets KIVA's transponder, and then his server is taken down. And Eddie somehow figured out a way to get on the air and broadcast, and people have been calling the station all day today saying, why isn't your FM station up, and I can't get you on AM, and what's happening? And he's been directing them to the website. So if you are a lover of all things KIVA Radio, Rock of Talk, normally 93.7 FM, 1600 AM, you can go to either abq.fm, or now there's an even simpler way. You can go to KIVA, KIVA.am, kiva.am, and put that in on your mobile browser or on your computer browser. And don't worry, when all that comes up is a white screen, look down. There's a little play bar right at the bottom. You just press play and it'll tune you into the station. It is super easy. It is like the simplest that you can get, and the data streaming rate is super, super small. So it is a way to hear the station, even if you can't tune in, even if you can't get the app. Of course, I love the app. I have the app, and that still works. something else that happened earlier about, I want to say 4:30 or 5 p.m. There was a call. I was listening to Eddie's show, and there was a caller who called in and said, "Hey, I was trying to listen on abq.fm, and a message came up that this website was now rated dangerous by his internet provider." And then when he tried to, reload it again, it just kept giving him an error message. So Eddie's station, the Kiva, is definitely under attack on multiple fronts. But here's the funny thing: people are pissed off. They are so angry, and he's been getting just a whole outpouring of support all day today. I believe he said there's been a record number of people signing up for rockoftalk.chat, which, by the way, anyone listening,
maybe it'll be like the thing a while back with like Chick-fil-A, where they tried to bash them.
Right.
Chick-fil-A's business just skyrocketed.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, lots of people signing up for that. And by the way, if you ever want to hear our Saturday show reruns, they're on rockoftalk.chat as well. So you can even see, last Saturday's was uploaded on Sunday, so it's up there right now.
Yeah.
So we can't lose Kiva. We can't. No. It is the only.
It's the only freedom speak station in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
There just are no alternatives.
Yeah, there really aren't. KKOB went by the wayside a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So they're trying to silence it.
Yeah, Eddie's fighting. He ain't giving up. He's good and pissed off. Right. He's still going for NMGOP chair. I mean, oh my gosh, if we can get him in there. And here's the sad thing. One of the theories floating around is that this wasn't necessarily Democrat-driven or complete opposition-driven from the left. The sabotage, anyway. There's a possibility that it was driven by Republicans who are afraid that he actually might win the GOP chair.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Which is sad because, I mean, what was it? Reagan's 11th commandment of politics, I think it was. I might be wrong on the number. I'm pretty sure it was the 11th commandment is, thou shalt not attack thy fellow conservatives. It's like, hello, we're on the same side, I think, here.
Maybe.
So let's iron out our differences behind closed doors or somewhat semi-privately, but it's time to band together, people. All hands on deck, trench warfare. We need to be fighting with, the people next to us, regardless of whether we like their girlfriend or whether we like the way that they do their hair or whether or not they even agree with, complete capitalist economics. But, we need to band together.
Well, I've been saying this for a while, and this is just, I think what happened with Rock of Talk, Kiva, is just further proof of what I've been saying. If the liberals get in charge, if Biden gets in the White House, you may very well see silencing of conservative voices all over the country. Because
absolutely.
They already have control of the mainstream media. The mainstream media has become the state-run media. And if Biden is in the White House, he will be controlling that state-run media. He'll be controlling. And we've also seen these governors around the country, how that they can just be a dictator and the rest of the legislature just sits on their hands and does nothing. Yeah. So imagine if these people have no resistance. They have Democrats running the federal government. They will be out of control. And I think you may very well see things like what happened to Kiva yesterday happening all over the place, and nobody will do anything about it.
Yeah, this is what happens in communist countries. Communist countries don't have a free press. They don't have a media. They have basically government run, or at the very least, government sanctioned propaganda outlets. That's the proper terminology for them. And any outlets, any journalists, any press that don't want to fall in line with the government sanctioned propaganda, they get put out of business forcibly. So we've been saying for a while now, we're living in a socialist state. There's practically communism here in New Mexico, and that's the way that Wuhan Luhan wants it, because this is her advertisement. This is her audition for what she can do on the national stage and eventually on the world stage. See, I implemented socialism at a state level. Now let me try at the national level. Oh, I'll help you do it at the global level. Great reset? Yeah, been there, done that. That's what she's doing. That's why she doesn't care about us.
Right. I mean, that should scare all of you, because if Wuhan Luhan gets in the federal government and she becomes the HHS secretary, what you're seeing going on, you're going to see national mask mandates. You're going to see national lockdowns. You're going to see constitutional freedom getting trampled all over the place. You're going to see the First and Second Amendment go away really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a way, it already is. I mean, just mandating mask wearing for people violates so many amendments. They're violating our right to gather peaceably, to peaceably assemble. Businesses are having their rights violated all over the place. And honestly, one can actually even make the argument that private property doesn't even exist anymore, and hasn't actually for a while. So we're there, people. Welcome to the socialist state of New Mexico. You've been living in it for a while now, but now the gloves are off.
Yeah, they are. And everybody needs to be very, very afraid of what's going on.
Yeah. Hey, David. David says KKOB went south when Comrade Trout was hired.
I totally agree.
I agree with you there, buddy. Yep.
Trout the pothead.
Yeah.
I call him.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
You know, since we're on this subject of the government pretty much running the place like a police state, we should talk about, you know, what I talked to you about the other day about the Costco thing, how people need to push back and they're not. Okay, both Natalie and I, on different occasions, have been intercepted and just treated horribly at Costco.
Yeah.
Now, I went to Costco and I told them when I walked up to the door, no, I'm not going to wear a mask, and I walked on in. Had my cart, I was going out shopping. I got intercepted by four sides by 4 different Costco employees.
Oh yeah.
This is something that they're focusing on way more than selling stuff. They're focused on making you wear a mask. They are passionate about this. This goes beyond them being kind of pressured. No, they're enjoying this stuff.
Yeah.
They're enjoying the power. And they've become a bunch of mask Nazis. I'm just going to call them that because that's the way they're acting. So the sad thing is I fought back. I made a scene, and I was being very loud. And all the other sheeple in Costco going around with all these, well, I'm not even going to call them sheeple. There's just faceless drones with their faces all covered, walking by like a bunch of sheep, and not a single person stood with me. Here, I opened the door for them. And I opened the door, and I made a scene, and nobody backed me up. Not a single person. And so I ended up...
Well, you at least had Mark and Donna there.
What's that?
Well, at least you had Mark and Donna with you.
Yeah, but they remained silent through the whole thing because that's the way both of them are. None of them will stand up to anybody. I'm the only one that will.
Oh, yeah. Well, and here's the thing is we've talked before about how everyone needs to find their fight, how they're going to push back and how they're going to stand up. And it is really hard to stand up when it looks like someone else is being ganged up on and stand with them because frankly, nobody wants to be beat up. Nobody wants to jump into the middle of, hey there, sweetie, go take a bath. Sorry, bath time. No one wants to jump into the middle of confrontation, or at the very least, there are very few people who will. And really, what it comes down to is preparedness. If your mindset isn't prepared, then you're just not going to take advantage of opportunities. So one thing that we've been talking about, we introduced this concept last week, and we've had some people contact us about, is starting up some mask-free shop-ins, kind of like, these, what do they call it when people just start dancing in like the middle of a mall or a warehouse, and flash mob. Yeah, so like a mask-free flash mob.
Flash mob, yeah.
Yes, and the idea is, tactically and strategically speaking, when you are going to push back, when you are going to be civilly disobedient. Granted, you could do it on the fly. Rebecca and I often do. However, it's more powerful if you choose your moment. Everybody knows what to expect going in, and you have significant numbers. Because right now, with everyone at a minimum of 75 people in the store being held to that, they're running skeleton crews so that they can have as many customers in there as possible. So now is really, perfect time to start getting some of these up and going. And whether you are the type of person who wants to enter completely mask-free and start the confrontation at the door, or if you want to go in incognito, which is what flash mobs do anyway, with your mask or scarf.
See, what I'm thinking I'll do is I think we should all walk in with a hat on, okay? Because the cameras are up high above the door. If we all walk in with a hat on, have our head a little bit low, they can't see our face. And then once we get in, we take the hats off and stuff it in the cart. That way they can't look for the person with the hat either.
True.
Yeah.
Well, at least not if they have someone, manning the video cameras. I see that.
So the deal is we get like minimum 20 or 30 of us together. We all approach the door at the same time. And as you know, Wuhan Luhan, she's making everybody wait in these lines out in the cold to like get into these stores. Well, what we do is we walk through the door and we say, hey, we're going in because this is nonsense. And we call to the other people in line, hey, why don't you all come in with us? See if we can get some of them to join us, and we just walk right on in. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
They're going to intercept a couple of us, but the rest of us are going to disperse, and we're going to be all over the store.
Right. Yeah, and that's the idea is with the numbers, if you dispersed all over the store, it is really difficult for them to manage that situation. And here's the thing, they are not law enforcement. They would have to get law enforcement involved. And at that point, it's like, well, what's the violation? A bunch of people are shopping without masks. Okay.
Yeah. What's the law? What's the statute number?
Yeah. And granted, they're going to try saying, oh, they're violating public health ordinances, blah, blah, blah. But police, and every now and then you are going to get a police officer who is behind the mask wearing and the police and the public health ordinances. But by and large, most of them are kind of like, something else we can't technically write a ticket for. Did you hear what Lujan Grisham, her administrator, or was it like, I guess it's her head PR guy, said to KOB4? So KOB News 4 emailed the governor's staff a bunch of questions. They were kind of put out last week that she spoke, but didn't give the press a chance to ask questions. So they emailed them instead, and MLG's head PR guy answered back to their questions and was super snotty to them. I mean, just, it was almost, I'll see if I can find it. It was almost unbelievable. But so one of the last questions that they asked was basically, you know, okay, so what about standing, you know, oh, what about all these lines? Are you going to lift the 75-person limit for the stores? Because they had opened up their questions with asking about, okay, so it's been 2 weeks. Are we going to start coming out of this lockdown or not? And I guess MLG has implemented some kind of 3-color code thing. You know, like we're in the red zone still, but we could come into yellow. And then we could go to green. Oh, but green isn't fully opened yet. We'll have to create a green plus category for that. It's absolutely redonkulous. So they asked her, or they asked her PR guy anyway, you know, what about these long lines? Are we going to lift the 75 minimum restriction because people are having to wait in all these long lines? And the answer was just, again, snotty, dismissive. He basically told them, well, this office still continues to value, you know, life over economics, and lines aren't a huge inconvenience for anyone.
I see.
I'm like, excuse me? What? I mean, my parents have been under the weather lately, and well, even today we went and picked up some stuff for them and brought it to them because I'm sorry, you can't be outside in 30, 40-degree weather, even if all you have is a cold. Come on.
Yeah.
My parents are in their 60s.
Seriously? Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be out there with my children for 2 hours. And I'm a reasonably healthy adult, but it's cold, and it's going to get colder this week. Colder. Does she really expect people to stand in line for hours in 30-degree weather?
There's a snowstorm going on outside. We're going to be standing out in the snowstorm.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, you're going to get calls for EMTs because of hypothermia, and oh yeah, some people might start losing some digits. So, yeah, wonder how you're going to handle that PR. Oh no, she's just hoping everyone will just go ahead and stay home, regardless of the fact that they might be starving.
Right. Stay home, even if they're out of food, they stay home.
Right. Yeah. Again, welcome to socialist state of New Mexico.
Like,
it's here.
When Mark and I were standing in that line the other day outside Walmart, it felt like being in like the Soviet Union in a soup line or something.
Right. Right. Yeah. Here it is. I found it. Yeah. Governor's staff belittles local TV news reporters for asking basic question. Like when they asked if county leaders will be notified when they're good to move on to the next color via the state. The Stelnicki is her communications officer. He responded, the map updates every other Wednesday. If county officials care about the spread of COVID in their communities, they are already checking this map regularly to identify the risks to their constituents so they can protect the communities they represent. County leaders are well compensated and qualified professionals who are more than capable of reading the public health order and communicating with their own communities. And all the rest of the answers are in the same condescending, like, oh my God, do I really have to tell you children again, tone?
Because they have unlimited power right now, or at least perceived unlimited power, because people are doing what they say when people should be basically saying no. Everybody should be doing civil disobedience right now. If they were doing that, there wouldn't be anything they could do about it. Hey, talking about civil disobedience, yesterday, at an undisclosed location, I'm a member of a group in which we are organizing get-togethers. It's kind of like a speakeasy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of us. There's one of the members. He owns a large building with a stage. We had a band. We had potluck food.
Awesome.
We had booze. We had dancing. We had an awesome band with music playing. It was like freedom. It was amazing.
Normal good time,
Freedom.
right?
Remember when you used to be able to go to a club and hang out, have a drink with your friends, maybe listen to some loud music, maybe listen to a band? Well,
or even go to a restaurant.
Last night.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, why don't I see if I can get our friend Chris in here, because I just realized it's like 7 o'clock. Our friend Chris with the New Mexico Freedom Alliance. And let me see here. I'm going to see if I can invite him in. Just a minute here.
Ooh, while you're doing that, Ashley on our chat said she saw some people walk into PetSmart today without masks, and one of the employees asked them to put one on. The people said, "You have no authority over us." It was amazing to see people stand up for what's right. Yes,
right.
That's
what everybody needs to do.
And you know, if I ever walked in and I saw that happen, I'd be like, you know what? You got no authority over me either.
That's right. You don't.
They're right.
What gives you the right to tell me what to do?
That's right. And I really think that if we can get more people pushing back, that pretty soon there's going to be an avalanche. But it's always the first few people. You got to dance, and you got to get up and dance. And that analogy of the dance floor, it's not the first person who gets everyone up to dance. It's the second one.
And that's
soon
so
as
true.
someone joins in,
as soon as one person joins that first person, everybody comes out.
Everyone's like, "Oh, they're okay. They're not alone. I'm not going to look like a goofball." And boom, dance floor is flooded.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's time to dance, people. Get ready to dance.
Time to dance.
Big ways, little ways. And the thing is, you know,
brought my producer in on the show.
Oh, yeah, hard at work, I can tell.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about this because you and I, we agree, but we also had different points of view on this. I want to talk about this Supreme Court ruling the other day against Cuomo in New York. And
yes,
they basically ruled against him on his caps for worship services. And the court ruled against him with a 5-4 ruling, which I find sad that it's a 5-4 and not a 9-0 ruling. Should be. So basically what they said, the gist of it all is that they ruled against him because apparently you could open your liquor store or your bike shop, but he could shutter churches, synagogues, and mosques. And that was the basis by which they ruled against him, saying, well, you know, you're opening these businesses at whatever capacity or whatever, and then you're telling these synagogues and churches and stuff like that they got to close. And that was the basis by which they ruled against him. Now, okay, that's where I have a problem. Okay, yeah, it's a small win. I look at it as a really small win. But the thing is, this is the Supreme Court. Aren't all the justices in the Supreme Court supposed to be there? Their main job is to enforce the Constitution and make sure any laws or any other kind of stuff that's going on that comes before them is constitutional. I thought that was their main purpose in life, is enforce the Constitution. So where this is a little bit of a win, I kind of look at it as a loss, because they set a precedent, which I do not like, because what they should have said is, it's against the First Amendment to close down churches or limit churches, period. Leave churches alone. Matter of fact, it's unconstitutional to close any business down.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that as we have a real problem in the Supreme Court. That's my opinion.
Well, so Rebecca and I both have kind of a glass half full, half empty look at this. It's really the same thing when it boils down to it. I'm just glad that Amy Coney Barrett is there in the Supreme Court, because we all know that if she wasn't there, it would be deadlocked 4-4. And if someone else was in there who was more leftist than her, then it would have just been an outright defeat for us. Is it completely ideal? No, it's not completely ideal. However, it is a step on the road towards what we want. And here's the good thing about it, too. It's not just New York, specifically those churches or synagogues, who decided to go ahead and sue and take this to the Supreme Court. Now another church in California is doing the same thing, because in California, it's much the same thing. Like, for example, in San Diego, you can go to a strip club, you can still go to a bar, you can go gamble, but you can't go to church. So at the very least, what these churches in these states are doing is they've shown the Supreme Court, okay, these governors are being, for better or worse, unequal with their requirements. Whether we agree with the requirements or not is a whole different thing, but we're not going to argue that in court right now. So what they did is what any good lawyer does, is they take a look at their client's case, what the arguments are for and against it, and what they are most likely to get a win or get a favorable judgment on. So there's a lot of things that the churches in New York could have sued on and could have brought to the Supreme Court, but they decided to go ahead with the biggest one, which is inequality based on religion. It was very obvious that Cuomo, he was letting all these businesses open and not even have limits on how many people were in their stores, but the churches are limited to 10, whether it's a small chapel or a huge cathedral. It was very obvious that, there was some religious discrimination going on there. So they chose the biggest thing and they won. And now here's where I think it's actually a good thing that they won, even though all they did is they chose the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we've got a whole huge iceberg underneath of the Constitution and constitutional law that's being violated right now. But they chose the tip of the iceberg, because now what California can do is, since that church in California is suing, is they can go, well, per the precedent set by the court last week, California is also discriminating against religious houses and religious orders. So how are you going to rule, judges? Are you going to be consistent? So now there's at least a way across state lines to push back a little bit more via the courts. And the thing is, the other good thing about this, it was a relatively quick decision. I mean, they were able to take this, and here's the other thing. Again, the reason why they chose the tip of the iceberg as opposed to try and including everything else. If they had tried to include more under that tip, they may not have been able to get it heard by the Supreme Court, because they went straight to the top. Instead of having to go to district court and circuit courts and their state Supreme Court, they skipped straight to the top because of the urgency and how badly that one issue violated the Constitution.
And I completely, I hate to say that I agree with you on on what happened.
It's a strategy,
but I don't like it.
Right.
I don't like it.
I believe that businesses shouldn't be locked down either, and businesses shouldn't be I mean, they're being discriminated as well based on whether they're essential or non-essential. I'm sorry, that's discriminatory. So, yeah, it doesn't need to be better. Oh, yeah, you betcha. But for right now, it's a crack in the door, and we're going to keep pushing. Other churches now are like, ooh, they've perked up. Like, okay, how does this apply to us? And there are other rulings from state Supreme Courts, not nearly as big or powerful or impactful, but there are some state Supreme Court rulings. I believe Ohio is one that might apply to New Mexico, but it's going to take a lot of work for a team here in New Mexico to get our case even heard. They're having to do a lot more on it. What the favor that those New York synagogues did the rest of the country is they gave us a conduit to go straight to the top and straight to the Supreme Court.
By the way, Natalie, Ashley, listening to us, said that she likes listening to the two of us on 93.7. She loves our show.
Yay! Awesome. And just know that once again, we'll reiterate, if anyone didn't hear earlier, 93.7 is having some issues as a radio station. Sabotage is it's a definite. It's not even.
Their transmitter site was vandalized, and
their transmitter site was vandalized, robbed. Robbed, and then their server got shut down. So somehow Eddie is back up and still going at it. And he created a new website where you can just listen to the station. It's Kiva, KIVA.am. And I'll put that in the conversation as well over here. So if y'all want to listen.
By the way, Ashley and anybody else listening, on this coming Saturday show, Natalie will not be on it because Natalie is going to be dealing with some family business.
Yeah.
So it'll be a non-live show. I'm going to do a pre-record for Saturday's show with a guest co-host.
Yay.
Which it's between two people right now. So depending on whether one person calls me back, if not, another person is. So it may be either a man or a woman co-hosting with me. But
either way, we'll make him an honorary Liberty lady.
Either way, they're going to be a honorary Liberty lady, and whichever person I get to co-host, you're going to love them. So
yes,
yeah.
And David has a good point. He said another thing that this lockdown is affecting are the holiday toy drives.
Yeah.
People aren't shopping as much. If they're shopping, they're only shopping for necessities. I mean, I'm totally there. The other thing too is one of the favorite things that we used to love to do, Angel Tree, where you get these gifts for children of prison inmates and you wrap them and deliver them. Yeah, no, not into that this year. Everyone's just getting gift cards.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very depressed over the holiday season, and you can bet that it's going to be the Grisham that stole Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Season. She's going to make us all as miserable as she can. But how you can deal with that is refuse to comply. It's as simple as that.
Refuse to comply.
PetSmart. Walk on in. As a matter of fact, if you can join Natalie and I on our maskless shop-in protest, you should. Because we need as many people as possible in order to have an impact. Because if we get enough people to walk in with us, I bet we'll get everybody in the line to just stream right on in with us too.
Probably. And like, what are they going to do? Refuse everybody's service?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yes,
See,
Ashley,
it's easy to refuse.
Is a horrible, evil witch. I'm just going to say that right now.
It's easy to refuse one person's service, but when you feel like everybody, or even 50% feels, even 25 or 20%, honestly, feels like a lot. But when it feels like almost everybody is doing the same thing, everyone kind of gets carried along.
That's right. It's like it's easy to join a mob, and that's basically, we're going to create the mob, and all you have to do is just follow it.
Yeah, just join it, follow it.
Ashley said she'd be interested in joining us. So Ashley, what I would suggest, email us a way that we can contact you to libertyladiesunite@gmail.com. And when we plan it, we will let you know.
Yeah, and preferably an email address and or a phone number. Phone number would be great, because if we get this going, we'll need to like text everyone, go time or something like that. That would probably be best.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, and then email at least, so that we can set something up before.
So, another thing about this article here that I found interesting, and of course this organization is so hypocritical, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
According to this, the American Civil Liberties Union condemned the decision and warned it could undermine New York's efforts to curb the pandemic. Okay, first of all, there is no pandemic.
Of course they did.
The pandemic is a lie. As a matter of fact, I looked at an article today from the CDC in which they've been tracking the annual total deaths from all different types of causes in the United States over the years. And the amount of total deaths this year in the United States it is on track with all previous years. So no more people have died than expected. And the curious thing about the whole thing is that a lot less people who died of other things. Now, I wonder why that is.
Oh yeah, less people are dying of cancer, heart disease. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're being lied to.
Things. Yeah. So we've got. Oh, let's see. I guess the trade-off here is that COVID-19 cured the flu.
It did.
Cured RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, which
cured heart disease and cancer.
Yeah, cancer. Oh, those are big ones.
God, maybe I should get infected with the Rona again, huh? Then I probably immunize myself against all forms of death.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, okay, cured a bunch of forms of death. Now, did it really? No, what's going on is that dying with COVID is different from dying of, or as I'm trying to say, CCP virus, Chinese Communist Party virus.
Yeah.
So dying with it is very different from dying of it. And even the national numbers are starting to be held suspect. There was a study done by Stanford that started looking into that, and they're like, yeah, we're starting to see anomalies with the reporting on a national level of the reported COVID deaths. So other research institutes are starting to notice something funny with the numbers. This doesn't quite make sense. Are they, are they quite accurate? Of course, a lot of us are, since the beginning are like, hell no, they're not accurate. What do you think's going to happen when you're paying hospitals more money if they report a COVID death?
Yeah.
They're going to go for the money. They're not going to leave it on the table. I mean, hey, money's money, and most governors put their hospitals in an untenable position of, well, our governor did anyway, of canceling electives, which is where they make most of their money. And that elective doesn't mean not necessary, by the way. That's a huge misnomer. I mean, my mother having to get like an MRI for her cancer, that's considered an elective. Don't tell me that's not don't tell her that's not necessary. But those are what electives are. And by the way, that's how hospitals make their money. They stay busy. So in all these states where the governors have decided, oh no, we have to prevent the hospitals from becoming swamped. So now the hospital has to operate at half capacity and no electives, which means they're actually operating at less than half capacity. Okay, then. What do you think's going to happen? Now you gave them an avenue by which to make up some money, which they're bleeding because they can't fill their hospital and they can't do electives. Yeah, they're going to report more COVID deaths to get that $39,000 or $32,000.
Well, and they're going to have a lot more deaths too, because the people that need treatment for other things are not going to get treatment, and their condition is going to escalate into a terminal condition. in which something that they could have been treated early for, they're probably going to end up dying from.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, there's already been a huge drop off in cancer diagnoses, not because less people have cancer, but because going to get a cancer diagnosis is an elective.
I just got an
works.
email back from Chris. He said he can't join us tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, darn. Another time, Chris. Another time. We'd love to hear from you. So definitely.
Because he's doing a good thing. What the New Mexico Freedom Alliance is doing is they are working to. Oh, I'm getting another message. He's working to get to all these little groups that we've put together over the year, all these different groups where we've been doing rallies and protests, and get them all together so we can communicate and we can organize larger protests.
Right.
And also an interesting thing is that I heard is that there are other similar groups forming around the world because they saw what we're doing. I'm not really sure, but actually there's now a international freedom coalition.
Yeah, they call themselves the World Freedom Alliance.
Yeah.
And they're starting, and there's some professors and doctors in various parts of Europe who've been really avid proponents of pushing back against lockdowns. And I have to say, I hold them in high regard because Europe is not like America. They're not free. They don't have the same freedoms. They're not used to the same freedoms like we do. So the fact that there are people who are avidly pushing back in Europe, that's amazing. And some of them are getting arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it ain't a cakewalk. And if you think we have it hard here, well, we're not getting arrested yet. Or are we? Might have to ask Stephen Baca about that one.
Yeah. So apparently my first person cannot make it for the fill-in position. So it looks like Joe is going to be my co-host.
Woo, Joe!
You guys love Joe. Yes. He's awesome. He's like a bookworm like Natalie is. So actually he'll fit in perfectly. and with him in there, there's who knows what way the conversation is going to go. It should be interesting because I've hung out with Joe numerous times, and him and I, we get into conversations that last for hours, just like you and I now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I sent him the show notes, and so that he can kind of get an idea of what I have in mind. And I'm sure that he'll bring all kinds of good stuff to it. So.
Oh yeah, he will. And he's such a wealth of not just information but experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well experienced.
If he works out, we might want to just bring him on every once in a while, just to call in, just to talk to us for a little while about just various things. So,
I just love to see Joe.
Something I mentioned, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. A lot of you may have heard Sidney Powell talking on a TV interview, and she got criticized like crazy by the mainstream fake news about this statement she made. Well, it's like, something to the effect of like she's being dramatic, and it's like it's not very professional. But she finished off her interview by saying, "Release the Kraken."
Oh yes.
Now she's not talking about the movie The Clash of the Titans. I saw that one. Where the Titan comes out of the ocean and it's supposed to eat the woman that they're sacrificing. No, it's nothing like that. But I found out that in fact the Kraken is a real thing.
Yep.
And so what the Kraken is, it refers to the 305th Military Intelligence Battalion, which is under the direction of President Trump.
And they're based in Arizona, I do believe.
Right. Fort Huachuca. Huachuca. And apparently this was revealed by U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General Thomas McCurney. McCurney?
McInerney. I think it's McInerney.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that battalion is their specialty is intelligence.
Yeah.
Which is a broad word for a lot of things, but it can be active or it can be passive. They are a branch of the military, so they can be used to wage war via intelligence, but I don't think really there's any group better in the U.S. of assessing when intelligence has been used to wage war against us.
And I was reading this article in which he was talking about this stuff, and he said that bad actors, both foreign and domestic, use man-in-the-middle, acronym MITM, proxies to cover their tracks. This was an attempt not to just steal an election, but to steal America. And apparently U.S. arch enemies China and Iran accessed U.S. elections in a cyber warfare attack.
Yeah.
So anybody that was complicit in this, if this is uncovered and there is proof that it happened, a lot of people are traitors.
Well, and furthermore, to just today, did you see any of the juicy hearings in Arizona?
No, I heard about those, but I missed those. Did you catch that?
It was a doozy.
Okay.
So there was their first witness at Arizona's, they called the election integrity hearing. So their legislature is holding hearings on the integrity of their elections. Colonel Phil Waldron was the first witness. He's an information warfare officer. Wonder if he is connected to the Kraken. That would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, maybe so.
But he told the panel of Arizona state reps that your vote is not as secure as your Venmo account. He just came out and said it. And he even said 1.9 million votes in Arizona alone could be invalidated.
Wow.
Because there were no signature checks.
And they supposedly already certified, right?
Arizona, not yet.
Not yet, okay.
A county or two might have.
But you know, certified or not, this could still be overturned.
Yeah. And Colonel Waldron also testified in Pennsylvania about Dominion voting systems, and he's signed affidavits as well to this. But here's the thing for anyone who's still sort of panicking or has some anxiety about the election. Keep in mind that we do not have to actually prove voter fraud. The president's team does not have to prove voter fraud beyond a shadow of a doubt. All they have to do is prove cast a reasonable doubt. They just have to prove that there is a reason to doubt the election, whether or not fraud was there. In other words, the other side, Biden's side, kind of has to prove that there wasn't fraud in a way, or whoever they're up against as defendants. So the president does not have to have an airtight case of fraud, and this is why they kind of made a point of separating what the president's team is litigating and what Sidney Powell is litigating, because Sidney Powell is going after the whole hog. Mm-hmm. She is going after Dominion. She is going after the connection in states and the kickbacks and slush funds that were set up in order for Dominion to come in. She's going after it. She's gunning for them.
And all you're going to, just want to mention, all you're going to get if you guys are watching the mainstream news is they're not going to cover any of this stuff that's really important. They're going to be covering these silly little recounts in which they're simply recounting all the fraudulent votes. And then they're throwing out these lower court cases, which really mean nothing. So they're focusing on that to try to make, and they're still calling Biden president-elect. He's not the president-elect. Not as long as this.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, these general Flynn, I was watching the interview with Flynn and this other general, and they were suggesting that Trump should refuse to leave the White House until this is sorted out.
Yeah.
As his constitutional duty.
General Flynn has come out, and he is just the president's biggest supporter right now.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing, too, is beware of some conflated words. So the left likes to play word games, remember? Right now, the mainstream media is using a word, a very deceptive word, audit, instead of recount. Wonder why. So recount, they should just be counting the votes that were already counted. But with the media conflating the word audit with recounts, which are not audits, they're two different things, they are implying that they've looked deep, that these states, like for example, Georgia, who's already had one recount, have already looked in depth to make sure that there was no fraud. Hence, they audited their recount. No, that's not, that hasn't, no audits have taken place yet, at least not at a state level. Just pure recounts and nothing else. They didn't match signatures. They didn't take a look at timestamps. They didn't even look to see if these people were registered to vote elsewhere, or
right, and that's why I'm saying these recounts are absolutely meaningless. They mean nothing. All you're doing is just recounting fraudulent votes.
Yes.
You're not getting to what the problem actually is, which the problem is the fraudulent votes. You need to sort out the fraudulent votes.
Yeah.
And you also need to find the votes for Trump that got thrown out that shouldn't have been.
Yep. That's why there needs to be an audit. Otherwise, Trump's legal team can go ahead and cast doubt. Right now they're pushing for legislative hearings, and this is why. Because if the legislature sees that there is enough doubt concerning the election results, then they can move to not certify the votes coming from their state, or that state's legislature can go ahead and choose the electors themselves, which is perfectly constitutional. Everyone's acting like this is unprecedented. This is actually not unprecedented. Our founders, they were pretty smart, and they knew that people like to cheat, especially when they have no morals and all they want is power. So they wrote into the Constitution ways and means to get around an election that is cast in doubt. And one of those ways at the state level is, instead of assigning the electors based on the votes that are cast in doubt, the legislature can assign the electors for that state. Just as at the congressional level, if enough of the states have doubts about their electors and the legislatures can't get it together, then the House of Representatives can vote to choose the next president, acting as basically de facto elector with one vote per state. And it's all constitutional. In fact, some of these pathways have already been traveled in the past over other elections where there was doubt cast too. I don't think it's happened within 100 years, but I could be wrong on that one. I'd have to look that up.
Well,
so yeah, we've got a pathway to win.
We
do. It's
numerous pathways.
If you haven't turned off mainstream media yet, please turn it off, because you're just going to get depressed listening to them. You're just going to get depressed. On a highlight note, where was it? There it is. So I'm going to include the Parler link. I've been spending a lot more time on Parler lately, and I'm loving it. So Candace Owens. If ever anyone knows, she
Oh, I like Candace.
years ago helped start the Blexit movement, the Black exit from the Democrat Party. So weeks ago, Facebook censored a post of hers where she truthfully stated that Joe Biden is not the president-elect. Either, I think she put it like lawfully or in fact, something like that. And yeah, Facebook censored it. So she got lawyers involved. PolitiFact was the one who did the fact check on her post. She and her lawyers got PolitiFact to uncensor the post and then admit that they lied by rating her post false. So in short, she got PolitiFact to admit that Joe Biden is not the president-elect. It's awesome. Yeah, I put the link there in the comments for everyone to take a look at as well, and it links to a video on Parler also. But yeah, she won, and one of the things she said is that most people who are either don't have enough time or don't have enough money are not able to fight and push back against Facebook. But then also they don't have the platform, they don't have the people and the publicity, enough awareness among their listeners and their crowd. She has all three, and she said that she's like, I've got all three, so I can push back, and I will. And she's been pushing back against Facebook and Twitter in a variety of ways for a while now. But in this one, she had already figured out previously that when push comes to shove, you got to get lawyers involved really quick. Otherwise, they just won't listen to you. So she got her lawyers involved. She got PolitiFact to stop censoring her post, at least that one post, and basically got them to do somewhat of a retraction. So great job, Candace Owens. We love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And maybe we should make you an honorary Liberty lady one of these days. Yes. Yeah, I love Candace Owens too, Ashley. Oh, yeah. So it looks like Rebecca may have dropped out of the stream. No! I don't know if she can rejoin here, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and just message her really quick, see if we can get her back on. If not, might have to call it a night. Well, we've been at it for a little over an hour right now. So yeah, we usually do at least an hour every Monday night, about 6:30-ish p.m. Sometimes we've gone an hour and a half. That's probably our average. And then sometimes we go 2 hours. Yeah, because, Rebecca and I can just talk forever about this stuff. So I'm going to see if we can't get Rebecca back in the show, y'all. But something else that I did want to go over. Let me grab that here. Yeah, so something we had talked about earlier, I had mentioned a Stanford study.
There we go.
Hey, are you back?
For some reason, my camera lost connection to my computer. I don't know what happened. Anyway.
But you're back. Yay!
Yeah, I got it working. So it does that every once in a while. I moved it to a different USB port.
Oh, good. Okay.
But that's okay. You were on a roll there, so you didn't even miss me there for a minute.
Well, eventually I did. I wound down about Candace Owens, and I realized you weren't there anymore. But yeah, I put the link to that Parler, and I encourage everyone. You don't have to drop Facebook entirely, but I encourage you to get on Parler. I've been having fun cross-posting, putting Parler stuff on Facebook, just like I post our Rumble account stuff on Facebook. So it's really fun to promote Parler on Facebook. It's it's funny.
The only thing I wish is that I wish there was a platform like Facebook to compete with Facebook, but there isn't.
MeWe. There actually is. It's called MeWe.
Okay. I'm actually on MeWe. I signed up for it just the other day.
Yeah. MeWe's pretty fun. They've taken a lot of innovations that Facebook started and expanded upon them. Their groups are, I'm not as familiar with their groups, but they actually seem to be a little bit more, what's the word? A little more comprehensive than Facebook's. Sometimes the group stuff on Facebook can be super confusing and super limited as well. And it doesn't look that way on MeWe. But I went there because there was a great group on Facebook, a group page called Follow the Data with Dr. Frank. And Facebook shut it down, like completely shut it down. I'm not sure he even has access to some of the pictures and stuff that he had stored on there. So he went over to MeWe, and so I went to MeWe to kind of follow him. And I love it because he gives the updated stats. He uses the gold standard for reported deaths.
Oh, so hey, you have a producer now, too.
A what?
You have a producer on top of your couch there. Oh, mine is left.
Oh, yeah, that's Max.
Yeah.
That's the Flame Point Siamese. Yeah. He's showing us that he's hard at work.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, if you go to MeWe.com, Follow the Data with Dr. Frank is an excellent group, and I always pay attention. I wait with bated breath for him to come out with the latest 3D graph about New Mexico's stats, because they're just so good.
Yeah.
So, yes, he aggregates data like nobody's business. But yeah, they're similar to Facebook-ish, if anyone wants it. And I guess I heard the other day that MySpace is still out there.
It is. You know, I was looking at it the other day, and I was thinking, I remember back in the day when the MySpace and Facebook were competing with each other, and early on, MySpace actually was more popular.
It was. Well, you could do more with MySpace. I mean, especially if you knew a lot more HTML. And for those who didn't know HTML, oh my gosh, there were so many people who actually built like the frames and the backgrounds and stuff. And you just had to type in a search engine. There were websites dedicated to, well, if you want your background blue and a frame of this around it, you make choices from drop-down boxes and it spits out the HTML for you. It was awesome.
Very cool. You know, I've known people that were so good at HTML, they can literally design a website using Notepad.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need.
Yeah.
And then of
really
course,
if you really know the coding, you can do it with Notepad.
Yeah, and I suspect that Facebook edged out MySpace via not the courts. Was it Congress? I think because people had so much control over their pages, MySpace eventually got shut down for a while because they're like, well, you're allowing too much inappropriate content on your page. Regardless of the fact that MySpace truly was just a platform and you were responsible for what you put on your page.
Yeah. I took a look at MySpace the other day, and it kind of looks like they've stripped it down. It doesn't look the same anymore.
Yeah, they have. They really have. I tried getting back on it, I think about a year or two ago, and it's just, I was kind of hoping maybe they brought back some of the stuff that made it great, but no.
No. It's very, very basic now. Very basic.
Yeah. It's too bad because that was really fun. I used to talk to John on there, my hubby, way back in the day.
Oh yeah?
That's how we started talking. Yeah. So it kind of has some good memories of which I wish I could still pull up some of the stuff that I had on there, but well.
Something here, we're always talking about mainstream news, fake media, that sort of stuff. And I found this article from the Washington Compost the other day. And they're talking about that Trump pardons former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to
They
the
can't
FBI.
stand it. Yeah.
So what I did was I went in, I just read the whole article really, really thoroughly, and I highlighted some stuff there just so you can show how biased these people are. And so I'm just going to read the things that I highlighted. Trump has used his clemency power to benefit allies and well-connected offenders. Okay, why didn't they say things about this about Obama? They just completely ignored all the
Right.
criminals he pardoned.
What
He pardoned flat-out criminals.
What was the number? Didn't Obama in his last month or so in office pardon over 300 criminals?
Oh, it was a bunch. I know that it's at least that number.
I think he did over 1,000 during his entire tenure.
Yeah.
I remember looking at some of the names and the offenses, and I'm like, what the heck? He pardoned that? He let that back out on the street?
Now, that I know of, Trump has not done anything like that.
And I suspect it was a last-ditch effort at unbalancing America, making things that much more difficult, making things that much more dangerous, bringing us that much closer to the tipping point, especially since Trump was not supposed to win.
Right.
But now it's quite the opposite. Trump was supposed to win. He did win. He probably won by over 400 electoral votes.
That's what the word is.
But the Democrats were willing to cheat on such a huge scale.
When you have no morals and you have the attitude that I'm going to win no matter what it takes.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a moral person that believes in following the rules and doing things the right way. It makes it very, very hard to beat someone like that.
It does. And unfortunately, well, here's how Scott Adams put it. He's like, if you think about this logically, if you have a bunch of people, presumably half the country, though I think it's less, who hates this president, and they think this president is going to be tantamount to a dictator and fascist and what have you, and Hitler, and they saw how much he won by the first time when he wasn't supposed to win. And there's this cool Dominion voting system. Oh, and then there's Hammer, and then there's Scorecard, and there's all these ways to cheat, low tech and high tech. What are the chances that nobody's going to cheat?
Right.
Especially when you're talking about a party that by and large operates under the ends justify the means. So what are the chances that they wouldn't cheat at all? Well, it's pretty much zero.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And I saw an old, I watched an old broadcast by the mainstream media from years ago where they were actually talking about the potential fraud. Well, actually, not potential. They were talking about Dominion voting systems, and they were actually pointing out the fraud in which it had been used to elect people in foreign countries and how it had evidence of swinging elections in some of these foreign countries. And they were like talking about all this problem with Dominion, but now they just love Dominion.
Do you have the clip? Do you have a link to that clip?
I can probably look that up.
I would love to put that out there for people to see. Oh, and by the way, the president of Venezuela refuses to call and congratulate Joe Biden. He says that he has sources who tell him that there was a lot of fraud in our election, and so he's going to wait until our electoral process works itself out. I'm like, look, a foreigner knows our Constitution better than some of our media.
These generals that were talking on this interview the other day with Michael Flynn are coming out and saying that Biden should concede before he ends up getting tried for treason.
Yep, looking like a fool. because yeah, he's the candidate. So I don't know if he's going to try to pull this whole, oh, I wasn't aware of any fraud. Kind of hard to say that, Biden, when you're already on camera saying that you and the Obama administration put together the biggest national fraud team ever. Yeah, you said it. So sorry, no takesy backsies. Well, I'm sure the legacy media is going to try to get him out of that hot water too. Be like, oh, you can't try him. He's just a doddering old fool who doesn't know where he is, what state he's in. Oh, he doesn't even know what he's
If you
running
wanted
for.
to
Watch
nominate him
that
for
pendulum
president,
swing. Go, zhoo, whiplash. Yeah. Oh, I don't put it past them. They think people are stupid and have short memories. Not with the internet.
by the way, I did a search on Google, and now, according to Reuters, they're saying the U.S. military has not seized election servers in Germany, which is a total lie.
Well, it's actually a partial truth. They have not. So the military themselves has not necessarily seized anything that is on foreign soil. Because, remember, I went over this last week. Someone explained it really well in an article. Our military cannot just go in and seize something from foreign soil. That would be construed as an act of war.
Right.
However, if it is on a U.S. installation, tantamount, because a lot of the U.S. bases in other countries are legally considered as part of U.S. soil. So if it's from a U.S. installation. Furthermore, it was a CIA installation on a U.S. base or military, but basically the land that it was on is considered the U.S.'s land to use in another country. So saying that the military didn't go into Germany to confiscate these servers is technically true if the servers were on German soil.
Right.
However, the servers would have been on a U.S. CIA installation where the U.S. and we don't know at this point if it was the U.S. military as such or if it was some other branch or connected branch, but basically that exerted the authority and the will of the President of the United States that did go in and grab those servers. So Reuters is playing footsie with word games.
And they often do that. Or another thing that they will do is they'll lie through omission. And that's the thing. That's the one that drives me the most crazy.
Yes. Yeah, it's nothing gets my goat more than trying to be fancy about your lying and trying to change and twist language to hide your intentions or to mislead the public. It's like, ooh, how dare you? You're a journalist. You supposedly went to school for this. Yeah, how dare you? You're trampling over what it means to be a journalist. Time used to be that journalists, real journalists, felt that they had a sacred trust with the public to find out the facts, discover the truth, and then lay it out for the public to decide for themselves what they think about it.
If they were a real journalist, what they would do is they would take something and they would be honest about it, and they'd say, this isn't exactly correct. Let me rephrase it and tell you exactly what it is, and really, really dig deep for the truth and talk about like what you just said a minute ago, and then say something like that. It's like, well, this is actually technically exactly the way it is. And by the way, that video I watched earlier today, apparently it's been scrubbed. I can't find it anywhere now.
Oh, no. Where did you find it on?
Well, I've got my phone set up to get notifications from a lot of different uh, conservative news sites and things like that, and they dug up the footage. I think it was actually on CNN, and I
Wow.
watched the footage, and I could have swore I shared it, but I can't find it anywhere now.
Did you share it on Facebook or something else?
I probably shared it on Facebook. I probably shared it on Facebook and Twitter. Let me look at my Twitter account and see if I can see it on there.
Yeah, good luck. Next time, share it to Parler, because Parler won't censor it. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I think it was CNN that actually originally reported the fraud with the Dominion servers, and they were talking about a particular election. I can't remember what it was, where they basically swung the vote and got their guy in when he clearly had lost.
Well, like we covered last week, Hugo Chavez was the one who basically commissioned the whole Dominion Smartmatic voting system.
Oh, here it is. I do have it.
Yay! Share it in the chat.
Let's see here. It's on Twitter. I'm gonna share it. How am I going to send it to you?
If you can just copy and paste it into the chat on the live stream, that'd be great.
Okay, let me do that here. Let's see here.
Because, yeah, that'll work.
Okay, and
then that way we can let everybody take a look and see it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
CNN themselves, blowing the whistle on Dominion voting systems potential for fraud. A bunch of years ago. Yeah, funny how they forgot all that. Everybody.
Oop, let me turn that down. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. And paste.
Yeah, we can get that on. Like we always say, we like you all to see it for yourselves. Don't take our word for it.
Yeah, I just pasted it on there.
Sweet. I'll grab that and then I'll put it on Parler. Woohoo! Yes, is that the Melissa Tate Stop the Steal on Twitter?
Yeah. Awesome. The right Melissa. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And it shows an actual CNN newscast. Where they talk about Dominion voting systems, and it's like now they're saying it's all a conspiracy theory and it's not true.
Yes.
It shows them to be the liars that they are.
And it looks like that video from the AstraZeneca vaccine is going around again. The one where the lady showed what all the ingredients meant and how human fetal tissue is in that AstraZeneca vaccine. And that's interesting because that's the one that is purportedly going to cost the least. It's going to be the cheapest. And also the one that doesn't have to be, I think, held at like super freezing temperatures. So it's also going to be easier to refrigerate.
Yeah.
But yeah, that video is starting to go around again.
Like minus 70 degrees Celsius or some crazy temperature.
Yeah, something ridiculous for some of the other ones. I think it's... I forget the name of the company that has to have theirs that cold.
So continuing on with my things that I found in the Washington Compost article. Says here, next thing I highlighted, Flynn pleaded guilty to a felony in December 2017, admitting that he had misled investigators about details of his conversations with the Russian ambassador during Trump's presidential transition. Well, from what I understand about that is he was basically coerced into pleading guilty because they were threatening his family.
Yes. Yes, they were actually threatening his son, I believe. And he came out later and he retracted his not statement, but his pleading. He retracted the fact that he pled guilty, and he even said, I wouldn't have pled guilty if they hadn't been threatening to litigate against my son. So there was a lot of weight behind that, which is also eventually why the DOJ dropped any and all charges against him. And I actually do agree. Some people were saying Flynn should have been pardoned a long time ago. I tend to agree with the way the president did it. Is after a while he knew that there was nothing really there for them to hold over Flynn. So he's like, okay, if he's going to be acquitted anyway, why would I pardon him? There's nothing to pardon. And only after it had been months of...
Well, and you had that Judge Sullivan, that rogue judge that decided he was not going to act like a judge anymore, and he was going to act like an attorney, a prosecutor.
Once it became very apparent that Judge Sullivan was now playing the part of a partisan hack himself instead of a true justice of the court, then Trump's like, okay, now I'll interpose, because the ability for a president to pardon people is not just pardoning them of an offense, but interposing themselves between a person and a justice system when injustice is being done and justice is not being served. So this was the correct way for him to use that presidential power. Flynn wasn't guilty, so why was a judge holding him in limbo? So the president reaches in and goes, okay, you're not in limbo anymore. You're free.
Yeah, because it was going nowhere.
Uh-huh.
So on with my Washington Compost article. The special counsel probe ultimately did not establish the Trump campaign had entered into a criminal conspiracy with the Kremlin, but the investigation documented how Russia interfered in the 2016 race to benefit Trump. Now, I really don't know how that is, how Russia did anything significant to manipulate the 2016 race, and how Trump's campaign welcomed assistance. Well, how did Trump's campaign welcome assistance? What proof of that is there? There isn't.
There was none.
But the little joke he made about, hey, if you got Hillary's emails, why don't you show them to us? These people do not know a joke when they hear it. Oh my God. I would hate to be a comedian full of a room full of Democrats. Can you imagine what a tough room that would be?
Well, no, even Seinfeld, I think in 2015 or 2016, said that he wouldn't go and do college tours anymore. He wouldn't go and do stand-up comedy at colleges because they had no freaking sense of humor, and they took offense at every one of his jokes. He's like, oh, I'm not going to stand for that abuse. I can go to clubs across the country and the world who are going to pay me good money, and they're going to laugh at my jokes.
Seinfeld's funny as hell. I love Seinfeld.
He's hella funny. Seinfeld, the show that, how many seasons did they have? And all they talked about was nothing.
The show about, they called it a show about nothing. It was great.
It was. It really was. It's like, oh my gosh. It was so refreshing to hear, because it really was indicative of the kind of things that people would do and talk about and run into day to day, the mundane, the little things. And they just took those little mundane things, they blew it out of proportion, and it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
No, libtards just don't, they don't get it. They're like,
libtards have no
joke about somebody. They might be offended. It's like, yeah, that's the point.
Oh, and here we go. Let's see. And this is, keep in mind, this is the Washington Compost. This is the kind of biased articles they read. Democrats responded to the long-anticipated pardon with outrage. In a lengthy statement, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Shifty Schiff said Flynn had chosen loyalty to Trump over loyalty to his country. It's like, what evidence do you have of that? Really? And that Trump's decision was intended to insulate himself from criminal investigation. Criminal investigation for what?
You know why they hate Flynn so much? Because originally he was Obama's guy.
Right. He was
Obama's appointee.
Yeah.
And then he started to disagree with Obama over funny business with Iran. And then Trump won unexpectedly. And Obama told Trump, oh, you want to stay away from Flynn. He's trouble. Yeah, you don't want him in your cabinet.
Right.
So Trump said, okay, hey, Flynn, you're my boy.
That's right,
And
because if you don't want to, I definitely do.
And the first person that the leftist media hack mob and the leftist underground went after to get imprisoned was Flynn. A lot of people suspect to this day that Flynn kind of knows where some of the bodies are hidden from the Obama administration.
I hope that's true.
They needed to get him under lock and key and gag ordered so that he couldn't help the Trump administration dig up some of those bodies. I wouldn't bet against it. Just saying.
Okay, here's yet another thing I highlighted from this article from the Washington Compost. I'm going to keep repeating that because I like that name. It's really
I love it.
So appropriate. So,
democracy dies in the darkness. Yeah, but mushrooms thrive.
Flynn had also developed close ties with Jenna Ellis, one of President's legal advisors, who is pushing his false allegations of fraud in this month's election. So what about all the hundreds of affidavits? Are you not even considering them Washington Compost?
Right.
So there's just so much evidence out here. Let's see. There's a lot of good. I mean, I highlighted so much good stuff in this one article. Trump has largely eschewed the traditional pardon process in which people convicted of crimes formally apply for White House consideration and have their applications reviewed by Justice Department lawyers. Well, sorry, that's not a requirement. The president can pardon whoever he wants to pardon.
Yeah.
So why did they throw that in there?
I mean, goodness knows Obama did it. Goodness knows Bush did it. Every single president of the United States has pardoned someone. And no, they did not go to lawyers in the DOJ going, do you think this is a good idea? May I? Yeah, no. They're like, me president, you free.
And when they're talking about the traditional pardon process, screw traditions. He doesn't have to follow any tradition.
No,
he's following his tradition. He's the president.
He kind of set a new tradition when he won 2016.
Here's another one here. Mueller's team disbanded. Flynn hired new lawyers, including attorney Sidney Powell, who this fall has been part of a team of Trump legal advisors working to overturn the November election results by promoting baseless conspiracy theories about fraud. It's not baseless.
Baseless. No, this is called manipulation. That one word.
Yeah.
Scott Adams likes to talk about word manipulation.
Yeah.
Baseless, meaning no foundation, no basis for fact or a logical conflation of. So when the media likes to use these terms that your mind is programmed to receive and make certain assumptions on. So when they say, oh, these are baseless accusations, then in turn what that does is now they don't have to address the myriad affidavits.
No, because it's all baseless.
Videos.
Yeah.
And first person accounts of actual election fraud. Oh, they're just making baseless accusations, and they haven't even produced the evidence yet. And that's another one too, saying, oh, they haven't produced the evidence. What are you talking about? They filed it in court, and they had in court you're required to have a huge stack of exhibits called evidence and affidavits and all of that stuff. Oh, but they didn't produce it to the media. So to which I say, hey, Go on TikTok and see all these videos of voter fraud. Do
Right.
your own damn research.
So
That's
another
what they
one,
should be doing.
in another sentence here, it says, the Supreme Court has ruled that accepting a pardon is akin to an admission of guilt. No.
What?
Why would you get that idea? Why is accepting a pardon saying that you're guilty? No. It's because you've been wronged and you got a pardon because the court system failed you.
No, but this is how they're going to try to continue to tarnish his name. I told you, they hate the man. They consider him the only person that the left hates more than a conservative is someone who used to be on their side or that they think should be on their side. That's why they hated Milo Yiannopoulos so much.
About that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this article is just riddled with one thing after the other.
They're trying to tarnish his reputation still. They're trying to paint him as a traitor because they think he is a traitor to their side.
Flynn has made statements and postings on Twitter that suggest he has embraced online conspiracy claims espoused by QAnon and other sources.
That's the best you got.
So they make statements like this with no evidence to back it up. It's like, okay, what evidence do you have to say that what QAnon is doing is a... Well, okay, now, no. Here's another thing. Here's the thing. They're saying conspiracy claims. Yes, you're right. They are claims of conspiracies. And I think those conspiracies actually do exist.
Yeah.
So
leftist conspiracies.
They love to use the word conspiracies, and they love to use the word conspiracy theories. It's like, okay, for starters, if you've got evidence to back up the conspiracy, it's not a theory.
It's not a theory.
It's an actual conspiracy.
Yeah.
Right?
Was there a conspiracy to overthrow the president? Yeah, only for like 4 years.
Yeah, and there's plenty of proof of that conspiracy. That's a real conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of proof of that. Look at the Mueller probe. Wasted, what, 47 million American tax dollars and nothing to show for it.
Nothing. So you might call, if they were honest, they would call that a conspiracy theory. Right? Because that was never proven.
Mueller probe was based on a huge conspiracy theory. Russian collusion.
The Russians are coming. I love saying that. That was in an old movie where they said that the Russians are coming.
The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
Funny, there was no Russian collusion nonsense being spouted when Hillary Clinton sold some of our uranium to Russia.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't call that a conspiracy theory.
So was that Russian collusion?
Yeah, that sounds like Russian
was our friend back then, but now they're not.
Yeah.
But if Biden's in office, then they might be again. But now they're not.
I don't know. You know, I remember when Rush Limbaugh years ago, when Russia was in the news a lot, and who was it? Who was the guy that kind of did the transition for before the wall came down? He had the mark on his head, and he was bald. What was the guy's name?
I don't know.
Mikhail Gorbachev.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, the left loved Mikhail Gorbachev for some reason. They were just having a love fest with him. And I remember when Rush Limbaugh on his show, he had these skits about every time he'd talk about Mikhail Gorbachev, he'd play the thing from like Darth Vader. Da, 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 da.
Yes.
Really funny skits. They were awesome.
Yeah. So David says, for a traitor, try Romney and McCain.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Oh, did y'all hear McCain's widow may get the ambassadorship appointment under Biden's cabinet to the UK, the most coveted ambassadorship.
Wow. I guess
there's
she'll be
her kickback.
Cover up all kinds of stuff, won't she?
Yeah. Can you say kickback?
Kickbacks. By the way, here's that article I've been reading from. See?
Sweet.
And it's just, you know, it's just full of bad journalism.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let's call it bad journalism. If I can go through there and pick that thing apart like that, it's really bad journalism.
Yeah. It's not what it used to be. That's for sure. Well,
Maybe
half the time I'm reading articles and I'm finding grammatical errors, like glaring errors and typos and misspellings. And I'm like, do you not have an editor?
Right, I've seen
Do you
that
not
too, and
even
it's like
use
I
spell
always
check?
ask that question.
How did your editor let this get past the editing desk?
Right.
Huh. Okay. Apparently, your editor doesn't care for being grammatically accurate or even using the right form of a word or spelling.
I thought that was kind of the job of an editor, wasn't it?
Right?
Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder.
I mean, they're supposed to get paid the big bucks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, get on the ball, people. Or stop being so concerned with your activism.
I think they're so blinded by the activism thing that the other stuff just kind of slips right on by.
I think so, too. I
Yeah.
think so. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up. I got
Yep.
kiddos to put to bed.
I actually got a job I have to go to in the morning, so
Yay! Make some money.
yeah.
Make some money, girl.
And I guess I'll be working with Joe to make sure he's prepared, and then I'm kind of thinking
Awesome.
Eddie was saying maybe Thursday we're going to do our pre-record for Saturday. So
Yay!
and then there might be some juicy new news coming up, and I'll insert that in there.
I'm sure there will be. I mean, just look what happened over the weekend. I mean, Georgia, we didn't even get to that. I mean, I had a whole bunch of stuff on the election fraud. I mean, Georgia's like, no, you can't. You can't wipe the systems. Okay, you can wipe the systems. No, you can't wipe them after all. I mean, like
Right.
three different injunctions.
So are they going to wipe the systems or not? They can't seem to make up their mind, right?
I was getting whiplash. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what? I thought I heard earlier was, oh, they changed their mind. Wait, they changed their mind again.
Yeah.
Whatever. What? It's like Monday. I'll sort it all out on Monday. I can't keep track of it anymore.
By the way, David Roybal just joined as we're getting ready to leave. So David, what you can do after we end the broadcast, just shortly after, it'll be available on Facebook for you to rerun it from the beginning. So we've talked about some good stuff today. And by the way, for those of you that have not also joined us on our radio show, which is really great, on Saturdays on the Kiva, Rock of Talk, 1 to 5 p.m. on every Saturday. And if you're local, you can listen to it in Albuquerque on 1600 AM and 93.7 FM. If you're not local, you can listen to it lots of different ways. You can put the Rock of Talk app on your phone. You can go to rockoftalk.com and listen to it on your computer on the website. You can, and the really cool service that we have now is rockoftalk.chat.
Yes, you can catch the reruns.
You can watch the reruns. You can watch the notes and the links.
Well, listen anyway. Yeah.
And if you subscribe to rockoftalk.chat, it's only like $5 a month. It's well worth it. It supports what we do for starters, but the biggest thing is on there just a wealth of all kinds of articles. If you like to know the truth and you want to have an awesome alternative to the lying fake news mainstream media, which I just proved that just gave you one little piece of evidence of that just here over the past several minutes. But subscribe to rockoftalk.chat, and doesn't he send you like email updates when
he sends email updates and links. Like every morning he'll do like the top 10 links of the day, things like that, news that he's curated. So it's really awesome. And then anytime we have shows re-aired, you can listen to the recordings and take a look at the annotated notes, so you can see the timestamp where we talked about what subject. And it's really cool because it kind of makes the radio show searchable. Normally, it's really hard to search audio content, but now with the annotations, you can actually kind of search
Literally, it's time-stamped on each annotation, which is really cool. And if you want to hear about a certain thing that we were talking about a certain time, it tells you exactly to where to go in the audio playback to listen to that.
Yes.
So it's really good.
I forgot there was one more thing I did want to share. So a friend of ours, let me see if I can grab a screen share here. Select window or screen. Where's my picture? Where's my picture? Ah, crikey. Well, it's I'll try to upload it to our I'll upload it to our Facebook. So they put banners over the overpass walkway.
Oh, that was so cool. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I love whoever did that.
Yeah, COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers are exempt from liability.
Somebody actually put that big, huge banner across one of the overpasses on I-40.
Yes, they did I-40 as well. So
yeah, okay.
it's actually a group. Let's see, New Mexico Freedom Keepers, also V is for vaccine national banner drop. And yeah, my friend and their family and a bunch of other people just been doing, guerrilla information warfare and dropping banners over freeways and good stuff.
Yeah, love it.
Wonder how long it'll take the state to take them down.
So I wanted to, for those of you that joined us late, I just want to let you know our upcoming show on KIVA, the Rocket Talk, this Saturday is going to be pre-recorded, unfortunately, because Natalie is going to be dealing with some family business.
Yeah, I got some family stuff to deal with.
And so me and a guest co-host are going to pre-record Saturday. It's going to be really good, though, so you still need to listen. It's just not going to be live. But we will be live on the following Saturday.
Yes.
And I think you'll like it because the guest co-host is a good friend of ours, and he's awesome. And
very knowledgeable.
He's still going to be our honorary Liberty lady.
You'll have to get him a wig or something.
Yeah, that's right.
We really need to get the Liberty Lady crowns.
That's right. I could put it on him. Okay, here you go. Here you go, Joe.
Yes. We got
so anyway, tune in and catch us again on next Monday on our webcast. Catch us on our radio show on Saturday, or at least the co-host this coming Saturday. And just remember one thing that I say at the end of each of our broadcasts: resistance is not futile. Remember that.
That's right. So stay free, everybody.
Absolutely. And we will catch you guys next week, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Peace out.